Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Polymonster, and this is a demo of my graphics engine Hotline, which is written in Rust. I'll do a little demo of kind of the features of it and what I've been doing, and I'm going to start rebooting a series of development on this. I did some live streams about it a couple of years ago now, and I was working on it a bit more then, so things slowed down a bit, but I've moved house and I've got a new office, so I'm starting doing a bit more coding. And yeah, I thought it'd be good to kind of just do an overview. I did do a video of this in the past, but the audio quality wasn't great, so yeah, I'll just talk through it, and then the rest of this series will be development and adding features and a bit more involved. But basically, this is how I have a single monitor setup at the moment. So I have the Hotline client running in one window, and then a text editor in the other, because the whole design of the engine is to be hot reloadable. That's the name, Hotline. It's like you've got a hotline from your fingertips and the keyboard to your GPU and your hardware, and you can interactively code and make changes. So I'll show some demos of that, if I can remember the everything and the layout of the repo and that. So the client is just a sort of, it's not designed to be an editor like some game engines. It's just it has different demos here, so I can change. These are more like basically unit tests. So you start with a single draw call, just a triangle, index to draw call, going up to an example of push constants, and then indirect draw, a simple one, and then this is some geometry primitives you can use that are procedurally generated. Spent quite a lot of time doing that, and then I'll put a link to my previous live streams because I actually made these on stream, or at least some of them. And then so beyond those kind of basic tests, there's like bindless texture. That's a basic test, but bindless material is a little bit more. This is a bindless material. There's a load of draw calls, and this is all draw indirect. So one single draw indirect, and material lookups and that kind of thing. And I think I've got a GPU culling. Again, like a huge amount of draw calls. I think there's quite a lot here. These are all individual draw calls, individual materials, single draw instance indirect. I think that's probably the most kind of, there's a bunch of different shadow stuff, shadow maps. So in that, it's working now. This is a dynamic cube map, rendering out to a cube map. It crashed for some reason, but this is still a work in progress, and it does have bugs and issues. Omnidirectional shadow maps. This is like a cube map shadow, basically. Turn off the grid. And PBR, basic PBR material, which the specular the blurring isn't quite correct, but it's just a quick example. So I do have some ray tracing examples, but this machine I'm using is quite old actually. It doesn't have an RTX, so it's not supported. But I have been doing that on another machine. And that's going to be part of this series as well. I'll go through it. I'll do some ray tracing. I want to add mesh shaders, as well as macOS. This is currently working on Windows, but I have started a macOS port, and that's probably what I'm going to start looking at next. In terms of going beyond this, I've got some little demos. They were written live coded inside a plugin system, so everything can be modified and hot reloaded. So for example, if I take a look at the geometry primitives, this is the source code for the geometry primitives example. it has a list of meshes. And so, for instance, if I just did something quick, I can modify this file. And essentially, we should see it compile live. Reload a changes detected building. Do I need to build it? I might. Oh no. Did that remove some of them? Reload complete. I didn't notice because it was basically the build was a bit slow there, right? I think it hasn't been built for a while actually. Let's see if it's a bit quicker this time. Changes detected building. We should see the number of primitives. Yeah, so it's added more primitives. That's one interesting thing about this. The link time in Rust is actually quite slow. I had a similar C++ hot reloader thing, and the load time is a bit quicker. That's just something that needs looking at. But basically, I can edit this file, and I can, I could do things like, let's have a look at what else. Usually, I have my text a bit smaller, so there might be. Okay, so like rotate meshes, we could comment that out, and then they should stop rotating. Yep. So code editing in Rust, and there's some nice stuff I added here where you can have these macros, export update function or export render function, and that kind of generates a wrapper so it can be then hot reloaded and the functions can change. But I'll go through more details of the technical bits of this, in the actual development videos. You can also edit shaders and render configs as well. So in the shaders, let's see what we have. Okay, so if I just uncomment this line, I edit the shader and compile it, and then they've changed. This is a little gradient that I was using to debug the seams in these meshes, but the shader compilation speed is much nicer. All I have to do is edit the file. Still a little bit longer than I would like, but still, you can basically have the thing running and edit it in real time. So you can edit code, you can edit shader code, and you can also edit render configs, which are called PMFX, which is an old historical project that I had, and it was in my C++ engine. Essentially, it's like a successor or inspired by the old FX framework, which was NVIDIA's, I think, or was it Microsoft, where you could specify pipelines, kind of, render state inside. So it's like a shader, but it also has a render state. And so if I find something here, right, so this is using this wireframe mesh overlay kind of render pipeline. So it's, you have a debug one, which is draws the grid, I believe. And so I could, for instance, I could comment this out. These are passes, render passes that get added. And it's not clearing now, right? Woo. Okay, so I added that. We need this one because this has the clear, but obviously disabling that. So we need the debug pass, but we could take out the wireframe pass, which is overlaid on top of the meshes. Now they're back, and they're just, they look a bit smoother now. So it's quite nice and easy to configure. You can include, this uses another custom kind of JSON syntax where you can kind of include files and you can kind of merge objects. So you can kind of share code and that kind of thing. But yeah, no, here, like mesh identity is a triangle list. I don't know what will happen if we change it to a line list. Maybe it'll crash, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work. Okay, so I can change those to lines, in the in here. But also you can change things like the viewport color. I'll see if I can find where that actually is. Yeah, so in here, I think these are the ones. These are where the view's defined in ECS examples. It's a little bit fiddly to navigate coming back, remember where everything is, because not everything's all in the same file. But here's the clear color of the main render target, so I could just change this to say like 1, and then it's going to go much more red. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so the loading, the kind of the latency on the updates is a bit slower than I remembered it to be, but there's something I would like to improve, and you know, hopefully it gives you the idea that of how it works. So the reason for this split view is that you have your editor on one side. That's what your code is, your editor, and then you're just looking at the live updates. This info in here, you can look at the render targets, for example, or you can see the contents of PMFX, all the pipelines that are loaded. This is just more like debug info. It's not an editor that controls the engine. The idea is that it's a very code centric engine, basically. So yeah, this is the start of, well, this is the intro to Hotline, and next up I'm going to do some development on this. I have been doing some stuff here and there, little bits and pieces, but hopefully that might be informative, and I might go through my thoughts about Rust because I've been using it for 3 years. I'm also, C++ coder still in my job, and I still like C++ as well. I think there's strengths and weaknesses to both languages, but I really do like Rust, and it's been fun, and I'm looking forward to getting back to doing more on this. So anyway, if you want to see more of this or you like it, please give me a comment, like and subscribe, all of that usual nonsense, and then keep an eye out for more videos. Bye.